On the surface, Naomi Judd seemed the picture of perfection, a glamorous beauty living her dream life as a celebrated musician touring the country with her daughter Winona. But on the inside, there was pain and the persistent haunting of a difficult path. When Larry Strickland stood before cameras in 2025, his hands trembled as he spoke about a night that nearly destroyed everything. For over 3 decades, the world knew Naomi Judd as country music royalty, one half of the Judds, a woman who turned pain into platinum records. But behind the Grammy Awards and sold-out shows, there was a marriage holding secrets so dark that when Larry finally revealed them, even Naomi's closest fans were left speechless. What happened on that night when a phone call shattered their home? What truth had been buried for so long? And why did it take Naomi's tragic death for her husband to finally speak? Larry Strickland would never forget coming home that evening in the late 1980s after nearly a month on tour with his gospel group, traveling through Tennessee, Georgia, Alabama, and Mississippi. Exhausted from life on the road, he looked forward to sleeping in his own bed and seeing Naomi again after weeks apart. But the moment he walked through the front door of their Nashville home, something felt wrong. The house was silent. No music played, no footsteps echoed, and there was no greeting waiting for him. Then he saw it. Their wedding photos were torn to pieces and scattered across the floor. Frames lay broken, glass shattered everywhere, memories of their wedding day at Christ Church and smiling honeymoon moments destroyed. His clothes had been packed into suitcases and thrown onto the front lawn like garbage, already damp from the Tennessee humidity. His heart raced as he moved deeper into the house, calling Naomi's name without receiving an answer. When he reached their bedroom, he found her standing there, her face streaked with tears and her eyes swollen from crying. But what stopped him cold was the gun in her hands, a registered handgun they kept for protection, pointed directly at him. Larry froze as his mouth went dry. He had seen Naomi emotional before, but this was different. There was betrayal, rage, and devastation in her eyes unlike anything he had ever witnessed. He tried to speak, tried to understand, but before he could say anything, Naomi pulled the trigger. The gunshot exploded through the house, deafening and disorienting. Time slowed as Larry instinctively looked down, expecting blood and unbearable pain. But when the shock faded, he realized the bullet had missed. Whether Naomi intentionally missed or her hand trembled at the last moment, he would never know. For what felt like forever, they stood frozen. Naomi's hand trembled as she still held the gun while Larry silently turned, walked out, gathered what belongings remained, and drove away. For decades, this moment remained hidden between them. Larry never contacted police, never told family or friends, and never even told Naomi's daughters, Winona and Ashley. He stayed away for weeks, trying to decide whether their marriage could survive such trauma. Eventually, Naomi reached out with calls, voicemails, and letters filled with apologies and promises that it would never happen again. After deep reflection, Larry returned, and together they made a silent agreement to bury the night forever and move forward for love, family, careers, and the image they had built together. Years later, in 1995, a television movie titled Naomi and Winona, Love Can Build a Bridge aired, portraying the rise of the Judds. In one dramatic scene, Naomi fires a gun during an argument with her husband. Viewers assumed it was fictional tension added for television, unaware that it mirrored reality. Naomi and Larry never confirmed the truth and allowed audiences to believe it was creative exaggeration while their careers continued amid fame, awards, and public admiration. In 2025, 3 years after Naomi's death, Larry finally broke his silence in the Lifetime documentary, The Judd Family. Truth be told, sitting before cameras, he quietly admitted, "It really happened." The revelation left many asking why such an event occurred. The answer traced back to a devastating phone call Naomi received 24 hours before the shooting. While Larry was away on tour, a woman called claiming to be in love with him, sharing intimate details that confirmed an affair. Larry later admitted the infidelity was real. For Naomi, who had spent her life fearing abandonment after a difficult childhood marked by poverty and instability in Ashland, Kentucky, the betrayal shattered her emotionally. The destruction Larry found at home reflected heartbreak spiraling into desperation. He later believed she was not trying to kill him, but crying for help in the only way she knew. Though they reconciled, and remained married for another 33 years. The trust between them was never fully restored. To understand their relationship, one must return to 1979 when Naomi Judd met Larry Strickland at a music event in Nashville. At that time, Naomi was a single mother working exhausting night shifts as a registered nurse while raising her daughters Winona and Ashley after her divorce from Michael Simonella. Financial struggles defined her early life, forcing difficult choices between bills and groceries while frequently relocating across Kentucky and Tennessee. Despite hardship, her passion for music remained alive, eventually leading her and Winona to perform together as the Judds. Their harmonies captured national attention, earning an RCA Records contract in 1983 and producing chart-topping hits such as Mama, He's Crazy, Why Not Me, and Grandpa, Tell Me About the Good Old Days, transforming Naomi from struggling nurse to international star. Larry, already an established gospel singer who had toured with Elvis Presley and performed at the Grand Ole Opry, offered stability that balanced Naomi's intensity. After 10 years together, they married on May 6, 1989, during the height of her fame. Yet success brought relentless pressure, constant touring, public scrutiny, and exhaustion. In 1990, Naomi received a life-altering diagnosis of hepatitis C, likely contracted during her nursing career. Forced to retire at the peak of success, she underwent painful treatments while Larry continued touring to support them financially, creating emotional distance that deepened feelings of isolation. Although Naomi eventually recovered and reinvented herself as an author, television personality, and health advocate, hidden struggles persisted. Stress, family tensions, and unresolved emotional wounds continued to strain the marriage. In the early 2000s, Naomi was diagnosed with severe depression, anxiety, PTSD, and sleep disorders. She underwent inpatient care and electroconvulsive therapy, while Larry became her full-time caregiver for more than a decade, monitoring medications and trying desperately to help her recover. Looking back, he later expressed regret, wishing he had shown more gentleness rather than trying to fix her suffering. In April 2022, Naomi traveled briefly to Vienna before returning home noticeably withdrawn. On April 30th, 2022, just one day before her induction into the Country Music Hall of Fame, she died at her Tennessee home from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Ashley discovered her, and despite overwhelming grief, the family proceeded with the ceremony.